All right, on the screen here you can see that I already have a new file set up. It is letter size, and I have placed 3 images on here and created a black background. What I'm going to do now is use some selection tools to make masking go a little faster. So we're going to cover just 2 of them today. We're going to cover the marquees, and if we need to, we'll use the lasso as well. So I'm going to start with a marquee here, and I'm going to start with my top picture here. So I'm going to select that one that is on the top, and I'm just going to move this so it is on the top so I know what order these are actually in. So on this top one, I'm going to use a elliptical marquee to just get these 2 people and try to get rid of some of this background image, which is sometimes called noise, so this background noise. So I'm going to come into my marquees, and we have both the rectangle and the elliptical. And I'm going to use the elliptical for this example. And as soon as I select it, of course, I'm going to check my settings on top. So right now I do not have any feathering, which is just fine, because I can always change that later with my mask panel. So with the elliptical, you need to start at the top and to the left of where you want to select. And as you drag, it will go around that selection. There are other ways to maneuver this tool, but this is the basic way of doing that. So with my selection made, then if I go over to my layer panel and I turn on my mask now instead of before, when we would turn the mask on and then do the paint brushes, if I select first before I put that on, once I put that on, it will then mask out to that selection. And as I have that mask, then my mask panel becomes effective, and I can then set feathering to adjust the edges of the feathering if I want some feathering at that point. So it's a good idea to start with no feathering on the selection tool and then use the mask panel to actually adjust that. And of course you have all of your other selection or masking options here as well. So let's try another one. Let's go to the gopher one here. I'm going to resize this down just a little bit so it's not taking up quite so much space. And you can see the black background then as well with that masking piece. So let's do one on the gophers here. This one is more rectangular, so I'm going to do the same selection with the rectangular marquee. So I have the layer selected. I go to my rectangular marquee. I check my settings. I am not going to have any feathering again, and my style is set to normal. And I just want these 2 in the back. Right now, these 2 are kind of in the foreground, so you see them. But I want these 2. So I'm going to come in here and do a rectangle around these 2 players instead. And then again, with the selection made, I go to my layer panel and I add my mask. Then my mask panel becomes effective over here, and I can again increase my feathering to soften those edges. And remember, we do also have that option to go into the mask edge where I can see this on different colors. So since it was so black, maybe seeing it on white, seeing it with red behind. Remember, you can look at it in many different ways. And then I can adjust my settings in here too. So here's my feathering option again. I can add some contrasting. I can shift the edge, so if I need a little tighter, maybe I didn't like exactly the part I selected, or maybe I want more, expand it a little bit. So once you see what it looks like when you add that feathering, sometimes you want to move it around a little bit. So there we go. That's how we do that. And of course, like I said at the beginning, there is of course that last option of using your lasso. And so I just want to demonstrate on this one real quick how to do that lasso piece. So with this image selected over here, then I can come and I'm going to start with a rectangular marquee again. And I'm going to select a large area, but still cutting out some of the noise, the greenery in the back, the door area, the roof line. We don't need to see any of that. So we're going to select, and then remember that we have the option up here to do some adding and subtracting from this. And so I'm going to use the Add to selection, because maybe I want actually this little piece of the bush, or this little piece of the landscaping. If I don't want that, I can go to the negative here and I can say, no, I don't want that part. I want just that regular again, and I don't want this part. And notice how I'm staying on, right now, the elliptical or the rectangular marquee, and I'm just using the add and subtract pieces. Well, the lasso tool lets you also add and subtract to your images, and it really lets you fine tune the area. So I'm going to zoom into this quite a bit, and instead of doing rectangular or oval, the image kind of has a flow. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down around their heads, and then on the bottom it kind of goes more curvy up towards their feet, so instead of being rectangular. So what I can do with my lasso tool is I can now subtract again from this current selection. So right now I do not want this section up here. So notice I'm just doing a big loop around, and then it'll take that out. And I can do this in small chunks. What's the next area I don't want? So I can just go down, and my hand's getting sore, it's getting hard to maneuver, so I'm just going to do a big loop. And as I continue, I can do it section by section. I don't have to do the whole picture at once. I can use that lasso tool to do little pieces at a time to follow the flow of these people. So get rid of that chunk, get rid of that chunk. Oop, I missed a little piece. Better put a little loop around that one. And you can see how you can do this in big groups. Here's a nice big area I'm able to do quickly. Let's scroll over a little bit, and then we'll do this side and up and around. So this selection I do not want either. So notice how you can really fine tune with that lasso selection and using the add to and subtract to sections to create a non-rectangular, non-oval shape, just that irregular shape feature. And again, the process, the picture's here, it's selected, then I do the masking, and again I had 0 feathering, and then I can go to my mask, go into my settings and decide how much feathering I want. I actually want to see this one on black. Whoops, not the white on black, the picture on black. And then adjust some feathering. And again, if that gets too much into people's heads, I can do the shifting of edges to widen it a little bit. I actually want to tighten it up a little bit. I didn't get as close as I thought I needed to. And so on. So you make your adjustments, and there you go. So that is how you can use the selection tools to do masking and maneuvering that lasso tool to do that fine selection of your selections and have some strange areas. So hopefully that helps you understand the selection tools a little bit more, as well as how to do masking using your selection tools.